This aircraft was used, like I said, as a liaison aircraft. They used it to spot enemy troop movements, spot for artillery. You could transport high-ranking officials in it. This is probably one of, if not Rommel's favorite airplane in North Africa. He would use this plane quite frequently to climb up there and kind of hang around and see where the English were going and where they were staging and things like that. So he used this airplane quite a bit. He flew with it. This airplane was used just about for everything you can imagine. It carries two people. You have the pilot and you have the observer who sits in the back. A little thing sticking out of the back of the cockpit is actually a machine gun. And the observer could operate the machine gun. He could turn around in his seat, use that little desk in the back, put his maps on, and also use the machine gun if he had to. Now the reason this thing can fly so slow, it has on the leading edge of the wings, if you'll notice when he comes around and banks, you notice it looks like a little wing on the front of the wing. It's actually called a slot, and it's a fixed slot, doesn't move, and it's wider at the bottom than it is at the top. And what that slot is for is to force air across the wings to maintain the lift on the airplane. You see the slot right there. Normally an airplane at about 15 degrees or so, get it above that will stall. And all a stall is it loses lift. The air going across the top of the wing begins to burble or to eddy at the top. It breaks loose from the wing, and then the plane loses lift and down it goes. That's called a stall, and pilots who are getting their license or practicing will practice stalls all the time. This one, that slot will prevent that from happening by forcing the air across the wing, keeping a laminar airflow or a smooth airflow across the wing. So he can maintain a greater than 15-degree angle of attack on the airplane. Consequently, he can fly it quite slow. As long as he's flying on a straight level course like that, the air is just going over the top of that slot and underneath of it. It won't begin to go through the slot until he increases the angle of attack of the airplane. So now he's going to come around. I think he's going to do some slow flying for us. Depending on how windy it is up there, we'll see how slow he can get the airplane. Okay, not too bad. Almost hover. A couple more miles an hour of the wind and you'd be hovering. We've actually had this thing fly backwards. But that slot is what's allowing that airplane to fly at that slow speed. When Ken comes back and lands the plane, go out and take a look at it, take a look at that slot. You can understand how that thing works. Now you can see from that vantage point, you can, kind of keep an eye out on enemy movements, find out where the artillery shells are falling, so you can tell the artillery guys either to increase the angle or decrease. Quite a useful airplane. This type of airplane was used by Otto Skorzeny and about 90 paratroopers to rescue Mussolini off the mountaintop in the Italian Alps when he was captured by the partisans after Italy surrendered during the war. They had him sequestered up in a ski lodge up there. Hitler sent Skorzeny up there to rescue him, bring him back to Berlin. Originally they were going to take him out in the helicopter, but the helicopter had some mechanical problems, so they sent a Fieseler Storch up there. And they flew in, landed the thing on the mountaintop, got Mussolini in the airplane along with Skorzeny, and all three of them took off in the airplane, less than 200 feet. He has a dubious honor being the last airplane shot down in the aerial combat in the European theater during the Second World War. And of all things, it was shot down by a Piper Cub. We have a little Piper Cub called the L4 Grasshopper. Does basically the same job that the Fieseler Storch does. And two Americans were flying the L4, saw the Storch below them, and for some crazy reason decided that they were going to try to bring the Storch down. Of course, the L4 has no guns on it. This at least has a machine gun. So in their infinite wisdom, they decided they would try shooting it down with the 45s. Well, lo and behold, they did. They shot the thing down, and they forced it to land. A little gun battle ensued. The Americans took the two Germans captive, and luckily for them, a passing patrol was going by, and they turned the Germans over to the passing patrol. Captured both the Germans. The observer got his medal. He was a lieutenant. Got his air medal. 20 years later, the pilot finally got his after some guy wrote a book about the incident. In case you haven't guessed, in German, Storch means stork. And if you look at the airplane, you can kind of get an idea why they called it a stork. Got those long, gangly legs on it. So that was quite an apt name for it, I think. Okay, looks like Ken's had enough. He's getting beaten up there, I can tell. When he does land, he'll pull the plane over here. I don't know if he's going to bring it inside or what he's going to do, or tie it out down here, because it's so windy. Usually we'll put it inside. But wherever he puts it, if he brings it inside, we can go in there and you guys can take a look at it. I just advise you to make sure you keep away from the engine. It's pretty hot. Also, you don't want to try to spin the propeller blade either. Now, if the wind was really strong, he could actually land this thing vertically. The wind would hold him up there, and he could just drop that airplane down. As a matter of fact, on the 215 restoration shop here, we got a little movie we can show you and actually see the Stenson L1 Vigilant land like that. He could probably land inside one of these squares here if the wind was blowing at a steady pace. That'd be pretty hard to do in this one because it's getting stronger than dropping down, so it'd be hard to do. Okay, he's down. Ken's quite the consummate pilot. He's not only been flying practically all his life, but he's a stunt pilot. Flew in the movie Flyboys, if anybody saw that movie. Ken was in that movie, and he said you can always recognize him. He's the guy that saved the girl.